Good evening, and welcome to another Jamblast podcast. I just wanted to do that so bad. So, in this video, I'm gonna have all kinds of different types of video up on Jamblast podcast, and what we are seeing is my new attempt at bowling in a different fashion, in a different way. And so, please leave comments, critiques, etc., including, um, whatever pointers or whatever that you see. But currently, I'm a classical, conventional type bowler. So, very recently, I started bowling with the fingertip grip. And so, how to get a ball drilled and specifically to my hand in this new fashion. And so, I'm starting out on my journey to try to learn how to throw the fingertip grip more correctly or accurately. Um, Sometimes my throws are not always the same. And so, um, I do was used to bowling conventional for the longest time. In fact, there was almost a 20-year gap between when I had originally started bowling, including competitive bowling, to all the way to what you're seeing now. So, as you can see, I have to get back into it. I typically use the 5-step approach, basically. Um, the bowling alley that I'm at, I actually enjoy going to this specific bowling alley in my area due to the music. The music that they play is just, it's awesome. It's great. Uh, as you can see, just got to split again. I hate hitting that head pin too dead center, and so. With my bowling and with my throwing of the fingertip grip, I believe this evening it was a harder time. I was struggling to get a reaction out of the ball, so there's not a whole lot of strikes in this video. In fact, um, the family next to me, I felt like, was doing a much better job in both directions. I felt like just going ahead and throwing it down the gutter multiple occasions. And so, I don't know if it was because there was quite a bit of oil. Plus, I was bowling left-handed, so there's a lot less. What do you call that? Movement, or there's a lot less work on the left side of the lane typically. So there's usually going to be more oil that's going to be there, which is going to make the ball slide a lot further down the lane before a reaction occurs. And so, but join me as I try to um, improve my game on bowling. I love bowling. It's one of my favorite it's one of my favorite things to do. Besides just the love of the sport, it's a great stress reliever. It's a great way just to get out and do something. A lot of people don't consider bowling a sport. I don't understand the reason for that. I consider it personally a sport. There are competitions and it is competitive. Um, and so, but anyways, uh, I'm just, I'm just watching myself as I bowl and seeing how my approach and my swing, and that's what I'm currently working on. I had to learn a new approach. I always did the 5-step, but I had to learn a new approach because everything was off. I was throwing all off, and it had, like I said, been close to 20 years since I had previously bowled, as well as I never bowled with a wrist guard, and that has helped tremendously because typically I can't bowl with a heavier ball because I don't know why my wrist can't do it. My wrist will fly back. I can't handle a heavier ball. So this allows me to throw at least a 14 without my wrist being flung back and the ball going wildly down wildly down the lane. Before then, I was bowling with 10 and 12 pound balls because of the fact that my wrist couldn't handle the weight, and so I could throw conventional, and I could throw those balls indefinitely down the lane and hit that pocket. But it was always pretty straight. It was pretty at a very, very straight angled throw. And so now with again these new, or not new, I should say, a newer technique for me, especially with the fingertip grip. I'm trying to learn it. I'm trying to learn how the ball gets thrown down, where the reaction, where I need to stand, how I need to throw every single time. I got to get my timing down as well. There's a lot to it, and I'm not. And originally, I wasn't used to all of that because it was pretty just 5 step throw. And so I've even considered learning the two-handed technique, but as of right now, I'm kind of avoiding that because I feel like it's even more of an advanced technique to get that flare, to get that those rotation on the ball itself. Um, Now the type of bowling balls that I have three reactive. I believe one is like kind of in between a pearl and a solid, and then a pearl, and then also a beginner solid. I have, and then as well as the T-zone ball that you see, which is typically just a spare ball that I'll throw every now and then. Um, but I also have the bowling balls that I do have currently are the 900 series, the burner, and that's drilled conventional. And with I believe it's a pin down, or it's a little, or I'm not quite sure the specific drilling. I can't remember what they said because again, I'm really I've had balls drilled to my hand, but with all the um, newer updated um, things that they say, they talk about pin up, pin down, where you drill specifically because of the weight blocking that's in the bowling ball itself. All of that is new word to me. And so I do remember, the count, the arrows and the dots, such as the 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. But getting extremely in depth with it, I never had just, I've never really taken into that professional, professional area of bowling. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. With my bowling balls, the bowling balls that I have is the 900 burner, um, and that's conventional. And then I also have a trend, which is the trend is like a pearlish ball, and it's drilled conventional as well. And then I have the Trend 2, which you see, and that is drilled with fingertips. And that is because I'm trying to, again, learn how to throw the ball, and because I really want to learn how to create that curve, create the reaction. And so um, this is me basically trying to do drills. This was a couple of weeks ago when I was actually um, trying to fix how I was throwing things, because even here I still wasn't throwing the ball correctly, and as well as I was doing a little bit more of a lunge in my final step than I needed to. So looking back, I'm seeing, even for myself, some of the things that I've already started correcting. Um, and so I do have currently a coach that is assisting me, and he even says, like, here. I've actually am not lunging as much as I even used to lunge. Like I used to be all the way to the ground, and my current coach was like, "You don't need to get that far down when you're bowling." And so I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "You need to really throw the ball further out into the lane," and that's one thing that is difficult for me because again, it comes back down to the weight of the ball, and that's why I use the wrist guard because that helps too. I typically end up releasing the ball around the bottom portion, and also you'll see that my hand doesn't typically follow through. A lot of the coaches and a lot of the people that are professional bowlers, you see them throw the ball and then they're swinging their arm. They continue to swing through their arm, and their arm typically goes up and down or through the same throw pattern that they just did. Um, and so that is another thing that I am currently learning how to do. But as you can see here in these drills, I'm not doing. I'm not doing because it's hard. It's difficult for me. Again, I'm used to, like, if you go back and you look at the bowlers in the 80s and the 90s especially, you don't see the techniques and the things that they do currently. Like how I was used to bowling, especially the conventional, there were that's pretty much how people bowled. And if you wanted a flare, if you wanted some type of spin, you had to you had to roll it, you had to get your thumb out of it, of course, the quickest way possible, and kind of throw it off of your fingers, through conventional wise. As you can see, this is the trend that I'm throwing here. I'm actually pretty good with it. Although, as you saw, I just failed to hit a pin because it did deflect a little bit. But I'm typically decent with the trend and throwing it. I can get it pretty straight every single time. Every single time I can get it exactly where I need it to go. But again, back to the throwing techniques and the different types of balls, bowling balls that were they had um, they were started to make special bowling balls in the late 80s and the 90s, but it wasn't as prevalent, or there wasn't a whole lot to me. I remember, following even the likes of Walter Ray Williams Jr., and now he even bowls with two-handed every now and then. Like he's done upped his game. He's learned all these more modern techniques, and he even throws differently now. But he still knows how to throw a conventional bowling ball. And I do follow a couple of other specific types of players, such as including Jacob Butterfield, I guess his name is. But yeah, but the way he throws the ball, he can cuff it at the bottom, and he can get his whole hand around the ball prior to release, and that's a little bit difficult for me when it comes to cuffing a bowling ball. So especially because I have to, as you can see, use a wrist guard. So again, this is me doing my practice, trying to improve my game. I'm trying to do proper angling. I'm trying to do proper swinging. And I'm hoping to record myself several more times so that way I can visually see myself. I can visually see what I'm doing, especially doing wrong. Like just now when I went to slide and my foot went into the wrong direction. There's seeing myself is going to definitely be helpful. Again, if you're out there, if you do have any additional tips, please leave those in the comments. I do understand that everybody's a little bit different, and not necessarily everybody will have the same bowling techniques, but any good critiques definitely would help. So, with that being said, appreciate you listening to my podcast. Again, I'll be having all kinds of different types of podcasts here on the Jamblast channel. So, thank you very much. God bless. Enjoy your evening.